I love to feed our rabbits hay. Hay can be a great, cheap, and affordable way to feed your rabbits. Way cheaper than your rabbit pellets, half price or less easily for a good quality alfalfa hay. The problem is, if you just take a pile of hay and put it in your rabbit's cage, you're likely to lose 50 to 70% of the volume of that hay. It falls through the cage floor, or it gets dirty. As soon as it gets dirty and stepped on or sat on or gets a little poop on it, rabbits are never going to touch it. They're very clean animals about what they eat. The other issue with that is the quality hay, the alfalfas, because we need the protein from that alfalfa or other clover type hays. The protein and most of the nutrients in that is in the leaf. The leaf is a thin-leafed, little fine thin-leafed plant. Those leaves crumble away into chaff, and you can get most of the leaves just falling out of your alfalfa, falling out of your hay in chaff, and it falls right through a cage floor. It gets dirty immediately, soaks up everything that it touches. So we were losing about 85 to 90% of the total nutrition in the hay when we first tried feeding it to our rabbits. Now there are some rabbit hay feeders, hay racks, hay holders, things like that you can use that are supposed to help. I haven't seen a good one. As far as I am concerned, they're all crap. The problem is nothing really had a proper catch on the bottom to catch all that chaff. And I hadn't seen one that was really the right dimensions to hold an adequate amount of hay to feed a rabbit, a good heavier meat breed rabbit with mostly hay. So I made my own. This is a way better design than anything I have found anywhere. While I have your attention, don't forget to check out the Facebook group, Homestead Know-How. I'm on that group a lot, talking about stuff, sharing articles that I found or that I've written. I'd love to get to know you better. I'll see you in the group. It only cost me $2 in materials. Actually, I think it was a little less than that. Let me show you what I used here. I have a piece of goat fence. Or whatever else you might see this called. This is a lightweight, I think it's 14 gauge wire, galvanized, welded wire, just little spot welded stuff. And it's got the 2-inch by 4-inch gap spacing in there. I've got just a piece of this. I have some of this left over from when I used this to make a chicken pen. By the way, horrible material to build a chicken pen out of. It doesn't last nearly as long as just chicken wire does. Chicken wire is built to take more flexing and more wiggling around in use. This stuff, if it's in something where it's going to flex around a lot, my rooster actually, from pushing around and hitting against the side of the pen, he actually broke several spots where the welds came loose and he could get out all the time. So I have a piece of goat fence here. And I have a brownie pan that I bought from Dollar Tree. $1.25. I bought this from a dollar store. So this is exactly what I used, and let me show you how I made it. It's super simple and quick, and literally we now have only about 10% waste. We went from about 90% waste to about 10% waste in our hay feeding, which now means I'm feeding our rabbits way cheaper than when I was buying pellets. Let me show you how this goes. The dimensions that I used for this, for the wire here, was basically just what fit well within this pan. This pan specifically because, first of all, it was cheap. It's heavy duty, it's metal, so it's plenty heavy duty. It's not so hard that I can't drill holes through it easily. And the overall dimensions of it works great to catch a lot of falling chaff. And it's not too tall or too shallow, it's perfect. So I'm going to take this piece of fencing and I'm going to cut it into a 4x4 block. I want 4 tall and I want 4 wide, and I want to keep these long spokes on the bottom. Excuse me. So, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4 full blocks. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off right about there on the bottom. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 full sections there. I'm going to go 4 wide. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 4 full, so I'm going to cut this one off. And I am going to keep as much of that on as I can, because it's a little bit handy. to have some of these sometimes. This becomes anchors, and to have extra anchors is great sometimes. That's how we anchor it all together into the cage. Next, I'm going to just bend it into a kind of a semicircle inside the pan. Just like that. It's going to be from one corner right up to the other corner with these spokes here. And all I'm going to do is punch some holes where these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, where they sit down. It doesn't have to be perfectly even. This is a feeder for hungry rabbits who just want to nibble on some grass. It doesn't have to be perfect. A little bit is fine though. Now I want this. I'm just going to hold it still. I'm just going to take my center punch, my Phillips head center punch. It's just a Phillips head screwdriver. And I'm going to poke a hole, first of all, completely in the corner down in this side. Any side, but this side I'll start in. And I'm not going to go straight down. I'm going to go more this way because technically I want the hole to be a little more in the side, not totally straight down. So I'm just going to punch a hole with that. Perfect. Right into my old table. Why not? So I have my hole down there. Now, just punch them one at a time. As I start punching more holes, they're just going to start lining up. Just kind of straighten these bottom spokes out a little. All right, just about there. This table is actually so soft that I can just pop right through it. You should probably not do this on your table. You can just set these pans right on the ground and punch through it into the dirt just fine. I'm just using this old kind of rotted up table. Works good enough for me. Alright, now to the next one. Right about here in the middle. I'm just going to pop it. Wonderful. Next one right here. And the last one, which is going to be approximately in that back corner, but apparently not quite. Sure, why not? About like that. So all I'm going to do is fold up this bottom piece here. And slide everything in the holes. All right. Now just for a close-up, you can see the holes punched in there. I mean, nothing fancy. It's a baking sheet with holes punched in it and some metal sticking through. So you got this in our basic position. The point, by the way, of putting these corner holes a little bit more up the side is because it actually gives this whole unit a, you can see it's kind of tipped forward a little bit. That wire is tipped, maybe you can't see it. It's kind of tipped on an angle like this a little bit, so that as it mounts against the cage, it's wider up here on the top slightly. Gives me, it lets me fill it easier. If it was tilted straight up or slightly back even, it would be a lot harder to fill, and I have found, initially I thought that if I tipped it forward, I would lose a little more chaff. It's tipped forward slightly over the pan. I'll lose more chaff over the edge. What I have found is that I actually lose less when I tip it forward this way because it's so much easier to put my alfalfa hay in the feeder. I don't have to struggle and crush and cram it in, and that is actually where a lot of the chaff can get lost right there. So by putting these corner holes slightly up the side, a little bit up the side, that tips this whole thing a little bit forward, makes it easier to load. Now, all I got to do is for a wire cage, I'm going to set this right in the cage like that, and I'm going to bend these prongs against the bottom of the wire. So it'll go through the wire cage, and I'm going to bend them. And for that, I'm going to bend each prong in a different direction. Pushing it down all the way, I'll bend one this way. I'll bend one that way. I'll bend one this way. And I'll bend one this way. and I'll bend one this way. And what that does when they're all bent different directions, it gives you a much, much wider anchorage point on the bottom. It gives you a lot more stability, so it's not going to wiggle around or have as much tendency to pop up if the rabbit tries to pry it or dig under it or some silly thing that rabbits can do. And to anchor it against the cage, I'm just going to use these here. This is going to go against the side of the fence. I'm probably going to put it up in a corner. It's a good out of the way kind of spot. And this is just going to go through the fencing of the cage, and I'm going to bend these around just like that. Just tighten them down with a pair of pliers so they'll go bending around the fence like that, and they just get wired in place. Now, this would have been better, forethought, after I made my 12th one now and just made this one different. I should have left little legs of wire on this side as well. I was not thinking about that when I made you this model, but that way I could wire this both sides onto the cage, and when I wire, if I wire just the bottom and one side, it'll be pretty sturdy. If I wired both sides and the bottom, it's going to be incredibly sturdy, and that's okay. This one, I guess I'm going to need to take a scrap of wire here and just do something like that to wire this side in against the cage. So the point is that now I have a wonderful feeder that's a good, easy to use, easy to function design. That it's easy to load. It's big enough that it actually holds about a day's worth of hay for my meat rabbits. Even some of the larger breeders that I have, they can eat a lot, especially here in the winter. So this holds quite a bit of hay. I'll stuff it as full as I think I can, a nice bundle of hay. I'm just going to reach in the cage, and I'm just going to stuff it in. Yeah, be smart to push these down. I don't like getting my arm stuck on wire. Just fill it up. Your rabbits are going to love you for it. This is the absolute best design for a rabbit hay feeder I have ever seen anywhere. You should take a look at making some of these yourself. So that's how it's done. Don't forget to go check out the website, northernhomesteading.com. Check out the blog there. There's some awesome stuff. I've got chores to do. I will catch you later. Bye now.